Hey guys, what's going on? I'm back. Yeah, I know, just same dude, different shirt. Thought I'd come back and talk a little bit more of Lakers basketball, this Laker Kings game, but plenty of games going on tonight. Excuse me. Lakers visiting the Kings this season, this game, in-state rivalry against Sacramento Kings. If you can remember, any rivalry game means a lot. It does not records do not matter. Obviously, they do matter to the players, they do matter to everybody else, but at the end of the day, both teams can come in 0 and 50. You still want to win the game for bragging rights. The Lakers currently are seventh in the Western Conference with a 21 and 20 record, 7 and 9 on the road. As for the Kings, they are currently 16 and 27. 10 and 14 on the at home, I should say. Lakers currently lead by 5 points tonight, 20 to 15 in the first quarter, with 5:45 left to play in the game. The Lakers are coming into this game after losing to the Memphis Grizzlies this past Sunday at home at Staples Center. As for the Sacramento Kings, they've lost 5 games in a row so far. Interesting to say, Sacramento has been struggling for the last few seasons. They have guys like De'Aaron Fox, Buddy Hield, and every time I see Buddy Hield, you think that what if factor. What if the Lakers would have gotten Buddy Hield? How different would this whole thing be? A lot that's a what if question. Remember, LeBron James signed off on getting Russell Westbrook. He wanted his boy, he wanted his buddy, and there's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But at the end of the day, that chemistry is not there. And it seems like it's never going to get there because the way Russell Westbrook and his style of play, you just cannot teach him new tricks. You cannot teach him how to play. Or Russell Westbrook simply has not wanted to work on certain things during the offseason. Again, we don't know that. Only he knows what he works on in the offseason when he's playing. But a lot of times when you see Russell Westbrook in the court, defenses just leave him open. Hey, go ahead and shoot. He's going to miss. He's not a high efficiency shot maker. He's a high volume shooter that misses a lot of shots. You see Russell Westbrook miss 3 pointers, jumpers, point blank layups a lot of times. He'll miss them. Russell Westbrook so far this season has close to 400 turnovers. And when it comes to turnovers in an all time list, he is fourth on that list. Obviously, if you're a high volume player, LeBron James actually leads that list. He's number one. But LeBron James, look at his numbers. He's had steady numbers since he came into the league. He's 37 years old and he still has not fallen off. If it wasn't for LeBron James so far this season, who knows where the Lakers would be? If it wasn't for LeBron James playing the five, who knows where this team would be? He's playing the five. He's walking up the court, dribbling the ball, setting everybody up, making sure everybody's fine, and then he runs back down and plays defense. How much longer can LeBron James stay playing like this? Remember, the last 2 seasons, LeBron James has not been 100% healthy. They missed the playoffs a few years back. And last year, they were not healthy and they were knocked out by the Suns, who ended up going to the NBA Finals. Now, the Suns are one of the teams to beat in the Western Conference. So think about it. The Lakers are seventh. You have Phoenix, you have Golden State, and you have a young Memphis team who is just hungry behind Ja Morant. They march at the beat that Ja Morant runs on the court. And that dude can do everything. And I'm talking about he's only 3 years in to his NBA career. He is the next wave of superstars. If you've not seen Ja Morant yet, I suggest you go when I'm done, by the way. When I'm done and you follow Dunk Time, go watch some of Ja Morant's videos. Because that dude, he is a hybrid Russell Westbrook. The only difference between Ja, he does not turn the ball over as much as Russell Westbrook. He is not a turnover machine. And that is one thing that is just killing the Lakers. They cannot keep a lead, or if they do have a lead and LeBron James goes for a break, that lead just evaporates. Or if LeBron goes to the bench and they're down, let's say 7 points, when he comes back in, they're down 12-14. So that so far, you know, earlier in the year, we will talk about how the Lakers would have to find their rhythm. They needed to find their chemistry. They needed to find. They are who they are. Let's be honest. Let's be real. The Lakers are who they are. this late in the season, if you haven't figured it out, you are who you are. I gave them until December, and it looked like they were sort of figuring it out. And maybe, with that 5-game win streak, you were like, okay, maybe they're going to figure it out. But Sunday it just showed me again that this team is who they are, and they just don't have what it takes to contend against not only the best in the West, but go against the East. It's just, you know, everybody can talk about how, you know, they have all the star players, but Anthony Davis, the guy who was supposed to take over this team, who was supposed to be the main man on this team, he's not even showing us that. So think about it. Let that sink in. Take away the injuries because players get injured all the time. But his game has not shown you that he could be the guy to lead this team. Russell Westbrook, he's had the keys to Oklahoma City Thunder, and I would say the Washington Wizards. It's the same thing over and over. With 324 so far in the first quarter, Lakers actually have a 7-point lead, 28-21. LeBron James is 3 for 6 with 8 points so far this season. Austin Reeves, one of the positives that you can find in the Lakers, he just checked in. Russell Westbrook's 1 for 2 with 2 points and 2 rebounds. But going back to it, the trade deadline is in February. It's coming up. Who would you trade from the Lakers? Who would you get? Well, I mean, would you give up Anthony Davis or would you give up Russell Westbrook? The question is who's going to take Russell Westbrook's massive contract? Or what team is willing to give up to take Russell Westbrook? Or how much will the Lakers give up to get just desperately to get him going? But then again, remember, the Lakers have given up so much. They give up first round draft picks for Anthony Davis. They gave up a ton of draft picks when it came to try to get, Russell Westbrook. Or have you thought about this swap? Maybe a Dame Lillard for Russell Westbrook. Same conference, same division. Dame Lillard is far, far more effective on the court. He's a far better shooter, and most importantly, he does not turn the ball over. But at the same time, he is a guy who needs the ball in his hands the entire time. But I would say to come to the Lakers, he would sacrifice some of those, touches because LeBron's also another guy who needs the ball in his hand or dictates where the ball is going to go in game time situations or playing situations. And another thing, you got to remember, Dame's a guy in Portland, but if he comes hypothetically, if he comes to LA, he's been the guy who's been used to taking the last second shots and he's highly successful, whether it's in the playoffs, the way he knocked out the Rockets. I'm going to go back probably 10 years ago in that first round of the playoffs or during just in-game situations. Maybe that trade could work. Or another rumor that's always gone around, Ben Simmons. Send Russell Westbrook to the Sixers, send Ben Simmons back down to LA. He does play defense, but he is not an effective shooter. Ben Simmons is not even the greatest free throw shooter. Remember last season when everybody cheered when Russell Westbrook made a three-pointer? Yeah. So, you're getting a better defender, but at the same time, you're almost in the same situation when Russell Westbrook uh he's not as an effective shooter down the stretch either. That was the big criticism that Ben Simmons received last season when the Sixers were knocked out by the Hawks in the playoffs. That Ben Simmons, at times, he seemed scared. Even his teammate, Joel Embiid, mentioned that he did not step up when they needed him the most. So, I think you can make so many cases, so many situations, so many team trades that the Lakers can do. But at the end of the day, I just see it impossible for a team to take on a massive contract like the Russell Westbrook one, which the Thunder gave him about 5 or 6 years ago. And let's talk about Westbrook's trajectory so far. He went from Oklahoma City to the Rockets. The Rockets tried that experiment where they would play small ball, and we looked at that failed. And then Russell Westbrook then got shipped off to the Washington Wizards that same season where James Harden asked to be traded and he went to the Brooklyn Nets. Then LeBron wanted Westbrook for some reason, and Westbrook ended up in LA, which had always been Westbrook's dream to come back home to LA. And again, this situation reminds me of when you and I are put in a dream situation for a job, and and I will say things happen, and you don't take advantage of that situation, or you just don't do what's asked for you, and you end up blowing the situation. It sort of seems like Russell Westbrook, it's headed that way. He's headed in that direction where he's in a perfect situation. He's home, great weather, his family, his friends. He's playing for a team like the Lakers, who have won 17 NBA titles, and he's the same guy. He's just the same guy. So, you know, hopefully Russell Westbrook finds a way to change. And trust me, it looks like there's times that you're like, okay, just last week he got a game where he had zero turnovers. I know it sounds crazy to say, zero turnovers for Russell Westbrook. Hopefully he gets in a streak where down the stretch maybe he becomes a different player, he becomes more efficient. But at the end of the day, when you've been in the league this long, uh, it's hard to change your style or your game during the season. That's something that you do in the off season when you're working to better your game, or you're working to change your game because you're an aging player or you're a veteran, the same way guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan did down the stretch, as they got older, and they had to readjust their game to fit in as an older player. Maybe Russell Westbrook's going to have to do that this off season. But again, Lakers currently up 32-23 in the first quarter against the Sacramento Kings. Other games earlier today, the Knicks and the Mavericks 6-game win streak with a 108-85 victory. RJ Barrett scored 32 points. Mitchell Robinson had a season high of 19 points as the Knicks once again snapped the Dallas Mavericks 6-game win streak with a score of 108-85. In the Western Conference and the Pacific Division standings, the Kings and the Lakers are in the same division. Phoenix 31-9, best record in the NBA. Golden State second, 30-10. And the Lakers are currently third, 21-20, seventh in the West. Clippers 21-21. That's another team. But remember, the Clippers do not have Kawhi Leonard this season. Remember, he got hurt last year during the playoffs. And the Sacramento Kings 16-27 so far this season. Again, we talk so much about the Lakers, the and what could have been of this team, which I think at the end of the day, what's disappointment, that word disappointment falls short when it comes to talking about this Laker team, because coming into the preseason, offseason, and preseason, everybody thought championship or bust. And that is the mentality the Lakers have every single year, is championship or bust, no matter who is on the roster. Because when you've won 17 titles, and you're playing in a market like Los Angeles, that's your first thought. Nothing else should come to mind. But so far, the Lakers are seventh in the West. They're in the bottom half, 21-20. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games. In the conference, they're 12-14. And then when in the division, they're 2-5. And in away games, they're 7-9. And at home, there are 14-11. So that speaks mediocre, to be honest with you. In a team that's full of guys, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, three high volume scorers. But there's one thing that this team does not do, is play defense. So, you're not going to be able to change a guy who's played the same way his entire career, Carmelo Anthony, and you're going to ask him to defend now, 15 plus years in the league. He's not going to change his game. Carmelo Anthony is who he is. He's a spot up shooter. He's been a high volume shooter his entire career, since his days in Denver, New York. Even when he went to the Rockets, he would just ask to do one thing: shoot 3-pointers, and that's it. You're just here to score. Then he went to Portland, and he revived his career. One thing Carmelo Anthony did do is accept the role of coming off the bench. Obviously, that is very hard for a guy who started his entire career and has been the man to take a back seat in a team But now, obviously, Carmelo Anthony came to the Lakers in hopes of winning an NBA title. But again, it looks like the Lakers are far, far from that. The Phoenix Suns, who made it to the West NBA Finals last season and knocked out the Lakers, are 31-9 so far this season. The Lakers have not been able to beat the Suns. Better yet, the Lakers. The last time I checked, wins against good teams, very rare, very slim. I mean, they've lost to bad teams this season. They lost to the Spurs. Remember, the Spurs came into Staples when they actually the last game when it was called Staples Center and blew out the Lakers that night. And to take you even further back in history, the San Antonio Spurs actually blew out the Lakers their last game at the Great Western Forum in Inglewood, not too far down from the Staples Center. So the Spurs have been the team who every time the Lakers have had either a stadium change or name, they're the team who comes in and basically beats the Lakers every time they try to do that. But yeah, Lakers are currently seventh, 21-20. They are just above 500, but I know a lot of Laker fans and like a lot of people out here in LA still have faith in their team, but I'm just going to be honest and realistic. This team does not have what it takes to win a championship. They have the players, but they just have not come together so far this season. And I know the Lakers are favored to win tonight against the Sacramento Kings, and I don't doubt it in any way. They are favored by just 0.1%. Yeah, Lakers are favored 51.1%. The Kings have a 49.9 possibility of winning this game. So far, LeBron James is 3 from 7 from the field, 8 points. As for Russell Westbrook, he is 1 for 4 with 4 points so far early in the game. Lakers up 34-29, and that goes back to what we were telling you earlier. The Lakers had the lead. It looks like the Kings are coming back so far. LeBron James just checked back into the game not too long ago, and trying to keep things together because remember, the Lakers move at the pace that LeBron James moves. If he goes to the bench and the Lakers are up 5 or up 7, that lead will evaporate like that. Or if he goes to the bench and they're down 5, he comes back in, and more than likely they're down 12 points when he checks back into the game because this Laker team just either simply does not know how to keep leads or will give up if they have the lead so far this season. I think earlier I mentioned how every time I watch the Lakers play the Kings, you think that what if with Buddy Hield? What if Buddy Hield would have been with the Lakers? Yeah, it is a what if. And what if he was there? Who knows if they would still have the same record or still be playing the same? So that question will always be there. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to deal with what the Lakers have and who the Lakers are. They are who they are mid-January. The trade deadline's coming up in February. You can either trade Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, or maybe just come up with a package deal and try to get another All-Star and give up more picks. But I think that's not going to work because then you're basically giving up your role players and your bench. You need Dwight Howard to protect the paint while Anthony Davis is out. Or, I hate to say, what if he gets hurt again? So that's another big factor, with the Lakers. So the question here is going to be, what round will the Lakers get knocked out in? First, second, and they're not making it past the second round. I'll tell you that. Once whoever they play in the first round, if they're able to beat them, they're not getting past the second round if they make it that far into the playoffs. I'm sure LeBron will do whatever it takes to get them there. But this is sort of like LeBron in his Cleveland days when he would have to carry the Cavaliers into the finals, into the playoffs. This Laker team will go as far as LeBron goes. And just like that, it's the Lakers have a 1 point lead, 35-34. Sacramento's outscoring the Lakers in this Second quarter, 5-1. Yes, it's still early, 10-13 left to play in the second quarter. Lakers versus Kings, 21-20 record for the Lakers, seventh in the Western Conference, 16-27 for the Kings, who are at home. They are currently 12th in the Western Conference. Their chances of making even a playing playoff game is very, very slim. But yeah, in other games, Tyler Hero had 21 points as Miami scored the first 16 points in the second half as they defeat the Hawks 115-91. The Lakers beat the Hawks here at Staples Center here last Friday. The Heat capped off a successful road trip by beating Atlanta 115-91. Tyler Hero had 21 points, and he was the leading scorer for that game. The Hawks are another team that, you ask yourself, they made it all the way to deep in the playoffs last season in the Eastern Conference. This year, they're struggling heavily, massively. So that's another team that you ask yourself, wow, what happened? What's going on there? But obviously, they came in with a lot of expectations this season, but not as huge expectations as the Lakers came in with all the offseason signings and everybody else that they wanted for that LeBron James actually wanted. So a lot of the blame can actually be put on LeBron James because he is, I would say, GM number 2, right behind Rob Pelinka, because he also has a say-so on who comes into this Laker teams. And if you want to say no, I think in a way you're lying to yourself because LeBron James wanted Russell Westbrook and he got what he asked for. It's been the same way everywhere he's played, whether it's in Miami, whether it's in Cleveland in his first run, Miami, and back to Cleveland, and now with LA. Everyone he's wanted, more than likely, if the Lakers can make the trade, they are going to get him. So he can be part of this blame also on guys that they have. Remember, this is an aging roster. This is not a young team. This is one of the oldest rosters in the NBA this season. And when they play young teams like Memphis, they get run off the court. Or then you'll play, I would say, somewhat of an older team in Golden State. But guess what? They have young guys around them. Jordan Poole, Gary Payton Jr., the Mitt. I know his dad was a glove. So you have guys that complement that older group of players like Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson, who just, there's no secret, or he returned back to the NBA last Sunday. And he actually played last night as the Golden State Warriors went to Memphis. The hottest team in the NBA right now, the Memphis Grizzlies, have won 10 games in a row, all behind Ja Morant. That team moves at the pace and the beat that Ja Morant plays in. And if you haven't watched them, man, I suggest, you go check out some of his videos. But before you go do that, be sure to follow us here on YouTube and Facebook, Dunk Time. That is DUNKTIME, Dunk Time. Facebook and YouTube, we load up nothing but cool content every single day for you guys. And I mean, we talk about just about every era of the NBA, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 10s. And I know this is going to sound weird to say the 20s because, it's 2022. So, we like to dig and find cool stuff or current stuff about players. And we make content, we make videos. So whenever you're at your home, whenever you're bored, whenever you're in the bathroom washing dishes, doesn't matter, and you want to watch something cool, be sure to follow us, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, as we can make cool content for you guys. And every single day we load up videos for you guys to check out. So be sure to share them. Be sure to share them and be sure to let us know what you think, what you like, and how we can do better to serve you with much better content. So yeah, so back to it. Lakers, wow. Lakers just went on a massive run, 51-39 just a few minutes ago. This game was 34-35, 7:38 left to play in the second quarter. LeBron James 5 for 9 from the field, 14 points. LeBron James actually checked in about 2.5 minutes ago. Lakers up 51-39. I think this is when you see the Lakers play like this, um, it's sort of the team that everybody expected so far this season. But then again, this is also a Lakers team who does not know how to keep a lead. Yeah. So, they'll have a 51-39 lead. And by the time you least expect it, teams are back in the game. And they blow a lead because they can't play defense or they turn the ball over. But 51-39 so far with 7:30 left to play in the second quarter. LeBron James leads all scorers with 14 points. Austin Reeves, the rookie, one of the bright points for the Lakers, 2 for 4 from the field, 1 for 3 from three-pointers. He has 6 points so far this game. But back to it. How will the Western Conference shake out? Well, it's safe to say so far, unless something crazy happens, I think everybody has it chalked up for the Western Conference Finals to be between the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, Chris Paul knows what it takes to get to the NBA Finals. He has gotten to the NBA Finals last season. So I think those are the two teams that have the biggest shot of getting to the Western Conference Finals. But guys, really quickly before I leave, if you're just joining us, be sure follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, like us, share our content, and we want to know more about what you like. Be ready, be squared, because we will be going live either outside Staples or, as you can see my bike in the background, more from my place and just talking NBA hoops because I want to know what you think. I want to know your questions and what else you have. Everybody out there, wherever it is that you're watching us, have a good night, have a good day, and enjoy as we are one step closer to the weekend.